8:24, welcome back to your Tuesday morning here on BT. Life on the West Coast gives us the opportunity to explore Mother Nature at its finest, but we want to make sure you are safe out there. Joining us on the couch, Ryan Morasiewicz, Senior Counsel at MLT Aikins and Chair of the brand new Outdoor Adventure Law Practice Group. You're also a search and rescue team member.
Correct.
Tell us about this. For people that want to enjoy the outdoors, how does this law practice group really keep people safe?
Well, it's a combination of things. We're all lawyers, so we know the practice of the law, we know our individual areas, but at the same time, we're also enthusiasts of the outdoors. We have, search and rescue member, we have people who are ex-provincial champion snowboarders or national team snowboarders. So we understand not only the law, but we also understand the context in which businesses or people recreating in the law will operate. So we have that base knowledge and that context that allows us to provide the knowledge that we have applied specifically to a new industry.
So give us a scenario of if somebody goes out, a unique scenario where they would need support and how this group could help.
Well, basically, this is for the businesses that are operating in the industry. So anything from the search and rescue waivers, for example, for people with liability, for how to actually just operate a business, anything from tax advice to real estate advice to anything that a business would need, but specifically geared to the outdoor industry.
Well, this helps, and you've been a search and rescue team member for 8 years. What's the advice? I mean, as we get this weather out there, people want to get moving. What advice do you see, and can you share year in, year out to keep people safe?
For sure. There's a number of P's. Right? You pre-plan, figure out where you want to go, what you're doing, what are the conditions that are going on out there, and also take the appropriate gear. What's called the 10 essentials in the search and rescue community, the 10 key items that you should have when you're going out in the outdoors, even if it's a short hike or a very involved trip that you're doing.
And we've talked much about the 10 essentials right here on this show. Another interesting thing, and we wanted to bring you into comment on this, drone regulations. They are changing June 1st, and we've spoken about drone regulations on the show, basic and advanced operators.
Yes.
What's about to shift?
Well, what's changed is, I mean, the industry itself has grown exponentially over the last few years, and June 1st, there's going to be new regulations introduced by the government to really more tightly regulate the situation. And I think most recreational drone users, at least, are going to fall into what you call the basic category, and that's you're not flying in controlled airspace, you're flying not over people and away from, about 30 meters away from people. And if you're going to be a basic operator like that, there are certain regulations that are now coming into effect. You have to register your drone with Transport Canada, you have to mark your drone when you're flying it, you have to pass an online exam, and you get a pilot certificate, and then whenever you're flying your drone, you have to display that pilot certificate. In addition to the basic, there's also the advanced group, but the advanced is probably not going to be most recreational users, because the advanced is for people that are actually flying within controlled airspace, so talking to air traffic control and being in constant communication with them, in addition to then flying closer to or flying over people.
How big has this industry become with drones, especially here in BC?
It's massive. I don't know what the numbers are offhand, but if you just go for a walk or go for a hike, you go to a park, you'll see just people flying their drones, getting nice views, taking shots of themselves, doing things in the outdoors. It's just massive when you see the people out there.
Well, given the desire to capture the beautiful imagery, there's also new rules and new consequences that come into play. So given the regulations, if people choose not to follow them, what are the consequences?
Consequences are pretty severe, actually. There are fines for individuals for up to $1,000 if you don't have your drone registered, if you don't have your pilot certificate with you, or if you're flying it illegally or improperly. Things like you always have to have your drone within your visual eyesight when you're flying it. You can't rely on binoculars, you can't put it around the corner, you can't fly it into a cloud. You have to be below 122 meters, you can't fly over people. Simple regulations like that, people are quite possibly going to start running afoul and be subject to these potential fines. The key thing for around here is you have to fly outside of 3 miles away from an airport or 1 mile outside of a heliport. And if you actually look at everything around here, that basically means no one can fly legally within the Lower Mainland.
Good resources online to look out for with the list of regulations?
Yeah, Transport Canada and the National Research Council have a online map that's kind of based on a Google map overlay that shows all these regulated areas and actually shows how you can't fly most places in the Lower Mainland. If you just Google a UAV site selection, that usually will pop it up. The issue, though, is that that map itself is not necessarily exhaustive either, so you really have to do your research and know where you're flying to be able to do it legally.
Well, good tips that you just gave for the jump off right there. And by the way, adventurelawyers.com is the website to find out more about the law practice group that you guys have just launched to keep people safe out there. Ryan, appreciate you coming by.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a break. More of your